house. Oh no. A weak buildup of yaps all unleashed. Is that what it is? All right, we need to catch up. You guys, talk to me. Talk back to me now. Respectfully. What has gone? What has happened? I'm hearing people who claim to be free-to-play are getting accused of not being free-to-play. I hear that there's changes to some Snake content. I heard the world is getting flipped upside down in the world of Raid. And I have some opinions. But how crazy? How crazy? How crazy is it today? How are we doing? Soul Yappin', ever seen that before? Alright! Rip Hydra, Boozer and Hydra drama. I am on the Watcher Rails grind. I don't care about Raid, to be honest. That's fair. I had to answer your question, Clarissa. I did play Watcher of Realms. We did a sponsorship for it. Very cool game. Very, very cool game. Not without its imperfections, obviously, but yeah. I think it's an enjoyable game, especially if you like tower defense style type games. That's fun. Well, a hurricane happened, yeah. I reached 80 and WoW, then canceled my sub, so now I'm a Diablo player. Talk to you. Fuck Hydra. Fuck this Hero's Path. Boozer still free to play. Soul's a whale. Drock's going free to play. Fuck Curse City. Okay. All right, let's talk about this. Hero's Path. I guess maybe we could do it this way. Hero's Path. What the fuck is this? This is a fusion-related Hero's Path. Really? Summon champions, get artifacts and accessories. That's different. Huh. Oh my god, there's a blessing here too. Alright, let's do a point breakdown. So if you're going for the fusion, that's 3, 3, 3, 3. Jesus. 3, 6, 9. Damn, she's fine. 12. So about 12k just to go through this entire listing right here, and you got to get the keys to do it. You start off with 0, which means you have to kind of pivot down one side or the other. And you have to go pretty far just to get it too, huh? Oh shit, we were in the middle of a high train. What the fuck? Yeah! Eh? Hey, yo, hold up. Yeah, this is kind of interesting. Kind of expensive, too, it feels like, huh? What's the point breakdown? So, dungeon divers, basically, right? And then shards. This is like a summon rush. This looks summon rush. Yeah, this is a summon rush. Interesting. It's like they really, really wanted to encourage players to pull shards. Wait, it says summon champions for shards. Yeah, you just have to pull the shard. You get value for the shard. Yeah, so it's what you pull, not what you get. Yeah, summon rush. Is it cheaper, though? Because 4,500 points is a lot for a sacred and these types of passive events. Interesting way they approach this. This is different. Do I agree with this though? Why do we feel so type of way about this this path event? Boozer's still free to play. I'll go ahead and comment on this because I don't want to drag this out, especially if they're already kind of past this point. I know I'm playing from behind, so forgive me, but I'm gonna throw an analogy out there, and you guys can rationalize it how you feel. Getting some kind of amenities that normally would not be afforded to you or to the general populace, I would agree, is technically not free to play. So the content creator program could invalidate his stance on being considered free to play. However, I will also challenge the dynamic for anybody that wants to consider free to play. What is free to play in essence? And I think free to play can mean one of two things that I can think of right off the top of my head. One is literally just don't spend, right? Which in that case, he didn't pay for that program. So like if the exact amount, like in currency, like, you know what I mean, he technically didn't spend, yet he's getting those resources, technically didn't spend is still the caveat, right? Then technically he's free to play, right? However, if it's because of the fact that it's something that he wouldn't normally have if he was a regular player, granted, that's fine. But then I would also argue that nobody's free to play, considering that we get things like compensation, which is something that's not normally afforded to people, typically. Those are things that are not always given to players. And if you were given some kind of compensationary reward in some capacity at any given point, you're not free to play either. Also, who fucking cares? I think for me, my perspective of free to play is efficiency. And I think that's something that you can't discredit Boozer on, from like the stance of he tries to find the most optimal way to do things with the minimum amount of cost. And I think that's respectable, and that should never be diminished. How do we feel about that? Food to think on. I'm moving on. Anyways, what else did you say? Yo, I'm power pushing, bro. We got shit to do. You know what I'm saying? Soul still a whale? No. Free to play, brother. Actually, no, I'm not. I did spin recently. Drax going free to play. Okay. Honestly, if he's not happy with the way the game is, and I know he's not, don't blame him. Fuck Curse City. Get good. B6 Q does not mean free to play. Booster drama, Hydra, Deck of Fate, player, and greed. Greed in some capacity, I could understand. I understand perspective there. Let's play D4 together. The man at me on BNet. Oh no, I think effect was fucked. You think so? Yo, what's up, Initiative? How you doing, man? Yo, big salute to the Matsu for the gift. Yeah. So I boycotted. Oh yeah, Deck of Fate was so stupid as well. You think so? Okay. I mean, I don't know. I'd have to do the number crunch, but I haven't yet, so I can't really specifically say. I hope a SoulSaint make content for us. Sure. Anyone who went for Freya Fusion is a clown. Am I right? Stares at pinning Freya to be cracked. Shh. We don't talk about those. I had to go all the way to Anniversary to get my Pogo. Must be nice. Pogos, what are those? Fuck. I pulled. I didn't get anything good. Did they substitute Deck of Fate for Summon Rush? It kind of feels like it. I haven't really been locked in on this particular fusion since I skipped it. Obviously, Hurricane Helene kind of forced me to skip it, but you know, I didn't want to impose more annoyance to Crafty. Although he would have been, he was open to it. He decided not. You know, we decided not to. I was like, you know what? It'll give me a good opportunity to recoup some resources. And honestly, despite me no longer having Ancients because I pulled them yesterday, I actually have a pretty decent shard pool count now. So, you know, we're kind of back to healthy ranges, and that's nice. That's nice to be able to do. That's gonna change soon, probably, but we'll see. Free to play does not mean spin it all. If you do spend any money at all, you're not free to play. You're a low spend. Okay. I think the point is that if I went with a free to play account, can I do the same things as boosters if they're on the same page? Probably not. I think that you're talking more so to like the play style, so like the efficiency conversation I was having, and I kind of agree with that too. If I bought a gym pack when I first started the game and didn't spend anything again, am I not considered free to play? Think of Kenpachi. Well, technically, if you spend, that's why I asked, what does free to play mean to you? That was my first opening statement to that whole conversation, and literally for transparency's sake, if the technicality is that if you spent a penny in this game, yeah, you're not free to play. So in technicality, Kenpachi is not free to play. If he spent 1 penny on his account, he's not free to play. And you have to accept that, you know? That's literally it. There's no other way to say it. But then if you change the goalpost of what is considered free to play, then you have to reevaluate how that looks, right? If you're going about based off of an efficiency calculation and how they play their account in lieu of not spending, then yeah, you know, I give Kenpachi the nod. But like, what does free to play mean to you? And that's the first thing you need to define before we even go any further in that conversation, you know? He's very pissed with sheep. He's extremely pissed with sheep. Nah, fuck Amius, man. Yo, I actually had such a good experience with Amius this round. Literally, I beat him in the first rotation. Freya deck is scammed. Don't look at my champion fragments to be summoned. Lol. That's not even get good. It's just terrible mechanics. You think so, huh? Yeah, I kind of killed it pretty quickly too, huh? Let me see. I don't think I'm in the top leaderboards anymore. Oh yeah, I am. Never mind. There we go. I'm number 28 right now. Yeah, I got it done the first rotation without even trying. Like, and this, was it auto? No, I did manual a little bit. Anyways, it's just terrible mechanics. Yeah, I mean, I get your frustration. It'll improve. It gets better. Things like Curse City is one of those things where it starts off being extremely hard, and then you start finding efficiency in it. You'll get there. You'll get there. Keep your head up, brother. Hello, Saint and chat. Welcome back. Yo, what's up, Sasori? It's good to see you, man. Thank you. Happy to be alive. Next week, no attacking down heads. They just respawn and come back into play with one turn. This is the last week of Hydra. Oh boy, Hydra. Hydra is an interesting one. Some of the changes I liked. Some of the changes I feel like were a little unnecessary. That is my overall quickest way to answer that. What is my opinion about Hydra? If we're being genuinely candid, one or two of the mechanics, sure. Or like one of the two mechanics, sure. Both of them at the same time in terms of like the changes to the mode does create a very, very unique circumstance that players are going to have to feel for themselves before they give criticism, and I think that's probably the most important thing I could suggest. And I'm not a Plarium stan here on this one. I do think that there are certain levels of scrutiny that could be my general in theory statement. So this means that in theory is subject to change based off of experience. In theory, I feel like it was a little heavy-handed with how they approached the rebalance of Hydra mechanics, but playtesting will validate that perspective or invalidate that perspective, and we will see. Was the trend of nerf necessary? Yes. My only frustration with that is that it took too freaking long. I think at this point, it's too late. Just my 2 pennies. Now, if they want to continue to do stuff with Hydra, okay. But this is another thing I'm going to give criticism with respect to Plarium, which is communication. If you're playing something down the road, and now mind you, I know that there's certain levels to it, but maybe a hint or a teaser to kind of give us that anticipation for it, sure. But as of right now, it feels like players are perceiving Hydra's changes as just imposed difficulties without any extra benefits to it. So, communicate with us. What are you thinking about this mode, and what are your plans for the future? As well as with the rest of the game. It's always good to get like a roadmap of what we should expect. Like the roadmap that they gave us when it came to like the empowerment for epics and all that was such a W. And I feel like if Plarium wants to continue to change the perspective of its players, because right now there's a lot of negativity, I won't lie. Communication is probably the best way. Transparency and communication is the best way that they can alleviate that, because at least we know what we're getting involved in. And I think that solves a lot of problems, truthfully. Being left in the dark is something, when I was without electricity, or when I was without network connectivity, so like my internet, there's a difference. Like with my power, with electricity, we had like an outage map. We had plenty of things to kind of see and know where they were at in terms of the restoration process, right? On the flip side, when it came to like the internet, we didn't know nothing besides like daily updates that were abysmal in information. So you can understand the frustration of a customer when it comes to like being super communicative and super non-communicative. And I think to put yourself in the better spectrum of things, you probably would be better off communicating. And that would be my only and constructive criticism that I'd give to Plarium in general. And I've been like this before the whole changes for Hydra. Not perfect like any company is, but with that being said, that is one thing that I feel like Plarium could do to improve. I'm being very politically correct when I say this. Now, with that being said, what parts do I like? What parts do I not like? Turn limit duration. So from 1500 to 1000, basically it cuts it off by a third. Sure, I'm okay with that. What impact does that have on teams? Well, I do think that although they are impacted, I think everybody's impacted to some degree. So I feel like this is a non-issue. Damage scalers are still relevant. I don't think they're going away. So like my perspective of Hydra is that like there are some really, really busted champions like Trunda right now in cheese comps. If we're excluding those out of the exception of this conversation, the next best in slot would be champions that scale well in the course of a fight, because Hydra is known for being a battle of attrition. 1,000 turns still leaves enough time duration for you to be able to get that fulfillment of attrition / scaling to do what you got to do. The amount of uptime on it is shaved off a little bit, though, so it is impacted to some degree. I think they're still going to beat out enemy max HP hitters, but I think enemy max HP hitters, which before I considered a crutch, now have become a little bit more tighter in terms of like being competitive equally. So that's a spitball glance. This is all in theory. Mind you, we have to experience it ourselves, so please take what I'm saying with a grain of salt. The indirect/direct nerf to taunt. If you were trying to nerf the Wixwell team, specifically for Hydra, job accomplished. And I think that was what their intent was. They did say that, I think, in their Q&A. Trying to nerf. W. It was needed. She was busted. Coming from someone who uses her. She's busted. Is she going to lose relevance? No. No. I think she's still going to be solid. And I think that, like, if you think otherwise, you're probably being too extreme as to the other parts of the mechanics, which I guess we can get into, which is decapitation effects. I feel like the temp HP on the head and then the head respawning after that, if that's how it works, if that's my understanding of it, is interesting. And I do think that kind of directly solves the problem that is the Trunda comp in a sense. But it does intrinsically affect traditional comps as well. And I think I know a reason why, but let me get to the next part, which is Serpent's Will. Whenever heads do really, like, revive back, they don't take any damage. They have 100% mitigation, right? That's my understanding. Interesting. I feel like that one's probably the most extreme of the two. I think one was fine. Both is extreme. Now, we have to play it out and see how that feels, but I do feel like that's going to be probably the biggest thing, I would say. I feel like having both of those at the same time is kind of like, it's tough. I don't know. What's up, Chemo, man? Thank you for the welcome back. Boost is free to play, but his account's not. Okay. What do you think about 30% less turns, but the same chest point requirement? It depends on how much damage we can still put out, but I would say that depending on how the mechanic feels between the two things I was just talking about, will determine whether or not there needs to be an adjustment. I think that's something that Plarium is going to be watching very closely based off of the way they're talking. How long is that going to take to stick? I don't know. I would hope that within 2 weeks, though, they have enough data to justify a decision sooner rather than later. If it takes longer than a month for them to generate a decision based on the feedback they're going to get from their community, their player base, then I will give some disdain to Plarium for taking too long to make decisions, especially something as impactful as this. But my perspective of it is that anybody that was already doing well in Hydra is going to continue to do well. And I think this kind of gives me a little bit of a pat on the back, because one of the first things that I, as a teacher, Sensei SoulSaint has always been a proponent of mastering mechanics, which is when you can control the fight, the damage will flow. And I feel like from like a root standpoint, going back down to the roots of Hydra, your ability to do that effectively is going to be the thing that's going to shine the most in this current change. Because my tinfoil hat theory is that the way that they introduce these mechanics is to force consumption. And what I mean by consumption is that, like, you know how, like, champions get eaten and whatnot? When you can brute force, like, for example, I'll use the Trunda comp in theory. The Trunda comp is still going to be affected, even if it is still effective at being able to do high damage. The reason why is that because of the cycling of heads, which is going to be very, very a lot more rapid pace, which means the mechanics of like someone getting eaten throughout the fight is also inevitably going to happen. And I think they're forcing the what do they call that? Where they, like, the, what's the name? Let me go over here real quick. Where they're consuming. What's the name of that, like, buff debuff, whatever you want to call it? Can you break bread with me? Look for green. When you guys see it, let me know. Digestion? Is that what it is? Devour. Whatever you want to call it. They're forcing that mechanic to be relevant in Hydra again. That's really what I feel like their intent is.
SoulSaint is the...
Yeah, Dunkirk! Thank you, sir. Those that got gifted by Dunkirk and anybody else for that matter. Welcome to the Brotherhood. Welcome to the family. Welcome to the nice one, dude. How you doing, man? All right. Let me see. Let's take a look here. I gotta catch up to you guys a little bit because we're passing information. Y'all can tell me if y'all agree with what I'm saying or not. I feel like we will need to focus on heads that are live now. No more big numbers on decapitated heads. We'll see. I don't know exactly how do you feel about that one, or how we will feel about that one with actual play testing. For loads of people, that is exactly what this is. Just made Hydra harder for people that are casual and wanted to start doing something with Hydra scores. Fair. Also, they told the CC in a group meeting that a big content drop before Christmas. I heard about it. I think that was select few members that were a part of the CC program. So, like, these are the more established players. Think, like, probably Hell, Hades, and maybe Scratch, for example, and Ash. Those are guys that are very, very prominent, very, very relevant in this environment. I was not, unfortunately, a part of that. If I was, you would hear me yapping about it. Obviously, I was a part of the Hurricane, but I don't think I would ever gotten the invite currently. So, we'll see if that ever changes. With y'all's help, it will. I'm excited for it. Last time they dropped something in December timeframe, it was Sin City, and that was a very, very fun update. I'll be okay with all the changes as long as I hit 1.2 build per week. Okay. Well, if you have a pretty strong traditional team, I think that's still going to do well. Do you think people not being super late game will have a chance to get closer to 1,000 turns? I think the consumption mechanic will not let you go much beyond much. It depends on the team and your efficiency or your level of progression at that point. I do think that everybody's going to have a little bit of an acclimation period, so it's going to look rough at first. But it will eventually stabilize. As with any new changes, I think the knee-jerk reaction from the community right now is that we are all creatures of habit. Humankind as a whole is normally a creature of habit. So the pushback on a change such as this, which does change the terrain of Hydra as a whole and how we approach it, it does cause some frustration, and knee-jerk reaction is to have disdain for it. That's why I'm saying theory versus application may be two different things, and we need to play test it. That's my general disclaimer behind my opinions on this matter. Until we get to feel it ourselves, it is too early for us to say anything outside of that. So we have to be careful. Now, there's nothing wrong with speculatory theory and all that, which is what I'm doing currently, but I do think it is going to be a little bit more challenging. I won't deny it. It could also be a lot more easier, too, depending on how you look at it. I think that people's efficiency is going to be varying based on champion pool, because there are some champions that do certain things, and I'll give an example. Mithrala, which is a free-to-play champion, is great for Hydra because she does Hex. She does a little bit of poisons, and her hits are not too bad, especially if you scale into her. But she also has a cleanse along with strengthen and shield, which gives you more survivability. Great, right? All that stuff is fantastic. But as you go more and more into current situations for Hydra, you have champions like Archer, for example, who does not only that Hex, but she does Provoke, which is two very, very important mechanics in the fight. And then she also brings decreased speed. And then she also brings healing. So, like, consolidation has always been the thing that I preach. Like, first things first is establishing control of the fight, which means that you have to have access to a certain range of debuffs and like mechanical champions that facilitate being able to control the enemy, and then the damage will flourish from there, right? Then you try to find your way to consolidate that team so that one champion does a plethora of things, which allows you to drop maybe one champion that only does one thing, and you could throw in another DPS as a byproduct of that, right? And that's how you expand your damage output. Now, with the change of the mechanics, I think it's still going to hold up true the way I'm kind of teaching people, but the rate at which the mechanics occur is something that you also have to be ready and available for. So I would say, like, speed requirements may be a little bit more of something that I would say may end up shifting a little bit because you have to match the terrain of the fight. And as such, some champions may fall off, some champions may come into the limelight. I also think that, like, power creep is a sumbitch, and there are champions that are are out that are gonna be like super, super OP. So it would be within your best interest to try to look out for those champions. If you have the means to be able to get them, try to get them, right? But nevertheless, I think that, like, if you already have a really good concept of control, you shouldn't have too much of a problem. That's my TLDR. What's up, Aim Gamer? I hope you're doing well, man. Welcome back. Thanks, man. I feel like no one's asking the most important question. Does pineapple belong on pizza? Sure. Yo, what's up, Goofy? How you doing, man? Their intent is crystal clear. They directly said they always intended teams to be dead or consumed well before the turn max reached. I think that the way that they prescribe these particular mechanics are going to achieve that. Well, for the lesser progressed accounts, it's definitely going to be a lot more likelier. I think the more progressed accounts are still going to give Plarium a run for their money. And I think one other thing I would give criticism for, or I wouldn't even say criticism, but more of like a suggestion to Plarium would be, do not underestimate your player base. We have mastered your game. Is that the right way to say it? Mastered? I would say so. I would say so. We have too many intelligent people in our community. Some of you guys watching. Some of you guys not watching. To a point where we've gotten really, really effective at min-maxing. And I think some people, development-wise, it's hard because you have to balance for a plethora, like a different range of players, right? There's casual to like super aggressive, super aggro, super like high technical, right? But it trickles down in terms of our economy. Our knowledge economy trickles down. So the moment there's a mastery of a mechanic, it picks up wind with other players. It pops from one person to the next person to the next person to the next person. Next thing you know, variations start being created, and then next thing you know, the fight has been optimized to a point where we don't care. We've beaten it. So like, you have to be aware that, just be aware that we are very, very smart about your game now at this point, and it's... We'll take on the challenge. And I think that's probably the best way to look at it. Look at this as something exciting to explore. If you can't beat it right away, it's fine. The one thing I could, I guess, to prepare for it, and this may be worth a video, is that, like, in lieu of the mechanics of a fight, doing things that are foolproof or future-proof in a sense. Yeah, I'm going back to my soapbox and preaching, dude. 10 a day, baby. No matter what, I'm good. And I feel like that's the layer of protection you want to give your account at always, if possible. Pineapple on pizza is terrible. Invalid take. Someone ban him. I just spilled water. Fuck. I think my ice cubes melt. That sucker's like super high to the brim too. I don't need my keyboard going out right now. We just got back from a hurricane. Fuck. Let's see. I just asked the question, bro. Don't assume my answer, lol. I think the pushback is also the community being annoyed that they wasted resources on champions for Hydra, and now those champions are useless. We should give compensation for that waste. So define waste, because I feel like Wixwell's not going to be irrelevant. He's still going to be a very, very solid provoker. So to say he's no longer useful would be stupid. Same thing for Trenda, if in theory the way that they're going to handle her now exists the way it is going to be existing. She's not going to lose her relevance. She's still going to be a solid damage dealer for Hydra. She's just not going to be as strong or as pivotal. Right? Gertug is still a great block buff champion. Who lost relevance? So, like, I feel like that's a bit heavy-handed in your perspective, if you're going to say wasted resources. I wasted level in Packmaster. They could have made it so that the taunt is going to be canceled. My clanmates booked Shaik literally hours before they announced taunt is dead. Well, let's look at it this way. His contribution from a block buff standpoint is still not irrelevant. He's still going to be able to do that job very well. Yeah. And technically, he's also an indirect hexer, too. Kinda. Right? When attack places a hex debuff? Yeah. So, like, that's still technically a thing, too. He could be a decreased defense champion, although I feel like that one's probably a little bit less valuable. And then he's also a, what do you call it? I don't believe they changed the mechanics of the actual heads themselves. He still is a viable option for, Mischief tanking. So like you have to like I said, reset your mindset to default. That sounds so weird. Look away from like the cheese mechanic that this guy brought to the table and look at him from more of just like a straight up Hydra mechanical. Like, go back to your roots and tell me that he's not relevant. He's not relevant. I'll tell you you're wrong any day of the week. Don't make me build him up just to show you too. I don't want to be that guy. Just trust me, bro. Obviously, you're not gonna have the same experience that, like, you know, the cheese comps did. That's obvious, you know. But that's intended for them to nerf that. You know what I mean? So, trust me, man. I know it sounds frustrating right now, but like, if you really look at the chassis of a character and you really look at like an essence of what you're looking for in Hydra, you're still gonna find some things that make those champions relevant. You know. You done yapping? I gotta play the game or pull shards for people? I mean, if people want me to pull shards, I can. He makes my doggy a nuker, huh? Yeah, but Ugo's epic and better. Hex comes pretty much becomes crappy now for him. Not necessarily. I think 20% more damage from having Hex up that's placed by this champion is actually kind of stinky. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's a little drastic is all I'm trying to imply. Give it time, man. Give it time. Give it time. I don't think Shaik is completely irrelevant. You just gotta readapt your perspective of the fight. That's what I said. Go back to your roots, you know? If you know how to handle the mechanics of the boss fight, go back to those roots for a little bit. Go traditional, and tell me that champion's still not relevant. I feel like I disagree. Now, to say one champion's better than the other, I mean, that's subjective, right? I would look at Shaik as an option to get more damage out, whereas like I would look at Ugo to get more support utility. You know, different strokes for different folks on that one. It depends on what your composition needs at that point in time. Valid though. I'm not trying to diminish your perspective on that. I'm not trying to do that. I'm just trying to say, like, don't be so negative just right off the rip. Let's play test it first, and then we can be pessimistic. But if you're mad at the fact that you no longer have a cheese comp, then yeah, well, tough titties. I hate to say it, but Taunt will retarget Devour now, not stop Devour. Yeah, I'd say Emek is basically dead for Hydra. Shaik is dead. Gertek isn't really relevant. Whoa, I disagree. Lunakis is mid. And yeah, there are better options for every single one of them. Yes, some of them have use outside of Hydra, but some people built those champions specifically for Hydra. Yeah, we can agree to disagree on that one. You have to build them and show us like sounds like you're lying. Nope, I don't want to. That's why I said don't make me do it. Trust me, bro. More so, yeah, I haven't heard in 3 weeks, dude. I know, right? Y'all making me feel bad. Maybe I should just end stream, dude. I'm going on vacation again. All right, Milton, you're up. Nah, let me stop. That's too far. Too far.